So we continue our weekend readings from the Caitanya Caritamrita, and we're up to chapter number 14, which is Lord Caitanya's childhood pastimes, and we'll read texts 6 through to 9 today. So we have text number 6 on the board. Can you see that, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu?
Yeah.
Okay. You want me to magnify it a bit or anything? Okay. All right. We shall proceed. Text number 6. Balya lilaya age prabhura utana shayana. Pita mataya daikoila china charana. Balya lilaya age prabhura utana shayana. Pita mataya daikoila china charana. Balya lilaya age prabhura utana shayana. Pita mataya daikoila china charana. Yeah, we do the word for word. Balya lilaya. In his pastimes as a child. Age. First of all, prabhura, of the Lord, utana, turning the body, shayana, lying down, pita mataya, unto the parents, daikoila, showed, china, marks, charana, of the lotus feet. So there's no purport to text number 6. We'll go to text number 7. In his first childhood pastimes, the Lord turned upside down while lying on his bed, and thus he showed his parents the marks of his lotus feet. Purport. The word utana is also used to mean lying down in the bed face upwards, or lying down flat on the bed. In some readings, the word is utana, which means standing up. In his childhood pastimes, the Lord tried to catch the wall and stand up, but as an ordinary child falls down, so the Lord also fell down and again took to lying on his bed. Text number 7. When the Lord tried to walk in his small footprints, the specific marks of the Lord Vishnu were visible, namely the flag, thunderbolt, conch shell, disc, and fish. Text number 8. Seeing all these marks, neither his father nor his mother could understand whose footprints they were. Thus, struck with wonder, they could not understand how those marks could possibly be in their home. Text number 9. Jagannath Mishra said, certainly child Krishna is with the Shalagram Shila. Taking his childhood form, he is playing within the room. When the Shalagram Shila or form of the Lord is engraved in wood, stone, or any other element, it is to be understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there. Even logically, we can understand that all material elements are expansions of the energy of the Lord. Since the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is non-different from his personal body, the Lord is always present in his energy, and he manifests himself on account of the ardent desire of a devotee. Since the Lord is supremely powerful, it is logical that he can manifest himself in his energy. The deity worship or worship of the Shalagram Shila is not idol worship. The deity of the Lord in the house of a pure devotee can act exactly as he can in his original transcendental personality. Omigana Chamanandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Midham Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadha Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're hearing the wonderful early pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's assumed this form of a young child, Nimai Pandit. And of course, Nimai Pandit is non-different from Lord Krishna himself. He's the acharyas explain, there is no difference between Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Sri Krishna. They're the same personality. So therefore the same markings that we find on the lotus feet of Krishna are also present on the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well. And we're hearing here how the parents of Lord Caitanya Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata are being bewildered, that not understanding that how can these symbols that appear on the feet of the Supreme Person of Godhead, or Lord Narayan, also appearing on the feet of their young child. As we were hearing in previous classes, this is the covering of Yogamaya that Krishna covers over his devotees, so they're not aware that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that way he can enjoy his pastimes without that mood of awe and reverence towards him, because if they're understanding in the consciousness that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's going to affect the bhav, or the relationship between Krishna and his devotees. And obviously Jagannath Mishra and his wife Sachimata are in that mood, parental mood of affection towards the Lord. So it's going to affect the rasa for thinking that this is God, but they're thinking this is my sweet dear young child, just as Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mata were thinking that towards Krishna, that he's our dear most lovable son. And even if it entered into their mind, or people were saying, well, he could be the Supreme Lord, then immediately they would be covered over by this Yogamaya and thinking, no, he's just my beautiful dear most son, and have a great affection towards him as their dear most lovable child. So we're hearing today about the markings on the lotus feet of Krishna, or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we understand that there are certain markings on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his expansions. There's also markings on Lord Balaram, and Lord Balaram is non-different from Nityananda Prabhu, and also Srimati Radharani also has markings on her lotus feet. So we can look a bit further into these markings of the lotus feet and the meanings of these markings of lotus feet, because it's quite interesting. And they are quite significant in the Vrindavan pastimes, the markings on the lotus feet, because, for instance, when Radha and Krishna are enjoying their pastimes together, and Lord Balaram may be in the same area, then he can see that Radha and Krishna together, because he can see the markings on the feet, and so he'll go in another direction. Or he can see when Srimati Radharani is going in a direction to find Krishna, he'll know to turn away, so he can let them enjoy their pastimes. And Lord Balaram also has his own set of gopis as well. So if Krishna or Radha in that area or vicinity where Lord Balaram is having his pastimes, and they can see from the markings on the feet and the earth and the dust that this is Lord Balaram, then they will also go to give him privacy to enjoy his pastimes. So it's the wonders of the marking of these auspicious signs on the lotus feet of these supreme lords. So on Krishna's right foot is, you can see there on the slide there, on the right-hand slide, on his right foot are a lotus flag. You can get a marker here. So there's a lotus flower, and there's a flag, and we have chakra, the umbrella. The umbrella is here. You can see them. 4 swastikas, the curving line, the barley corn, which is just up here. And we have an elephant goad, an octagon, 4 blackberry or jumbo fruits, which are down the bottom here. These are the fruits. And a thunderbolt. And on the left foot are 4 water pots. And we have a conch, an unstrung bow, a cow's hoof, fish, a crescent moon, 2 circles which represent the sky, and a triangle. So this is from the Skanda Purana, which elaborates a bit further on these markings. So the disc or the chakra, this which is up here, the chakram. This, where are we? Here we are. So the chakra. This mark cuts down the 6 enemies of his devotees: lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, and bewilderment. It indicates Teja Tattva, or the principle of brilliance by which the darkness of sin within is destroyed. So we know that Kama, Krodha, Madha, Moha, Bhaya, Matsarya, lust, anger, illusion, envy, fear and greed are the 6 enemies of the conditioned souls in the material world. So this chakra is able to remove these unwanted anarthas within the heart that all the conditioned souls are carrying within them. So we can meditate on this chakra, on the lotus feet of the Lord, if we're struggling with any of these 6 enemies of the mind. So the lotus flower, or the Padma, Kamala, the lotus flower signifies that just as a lotus grows out of the water, similarly those whose eyes swell with tears upon holding the Lord's lotus feet to their heart receive the highest benefit. This mark also shows that the goddess of fortune, Sri Lakshmi Devi, always resides on his feet, rendering humble service. It also reveals that just as a lotus blooms by day and contracts by night, similarly those who remain steeped in meditation on his feet always feel the blossoming and unfolding of brilliant ecstasies that dispel the darkness of ignorance. This mark signifies that his feet are so soft that they can only be compared to lotus petals. Indeed, upon first glancing of his lotus feet, you would think you are directly seeing fresh lotus blossoms. This mark also indicates that just as bees live inside lotus flowers, similarly the minds of the gopis always reside in the nectar of his lotus feet. It also shows that this lotus, or consciousness of his lotus feet, will not grow unless there is profusion of water of pure divine love. It also means that the bee of the devotee's mind cannot fly beyond the bondage of dry jnana and vairagya, renunciation, without the temptation offered by the supreme nectar of his lotus feet. The mark is indicative of his supreme lordship over all creation. He holds the 4 signs, beginning with the lotus, disc, club and conch. So it's a nice meditation. Like sometimes on New Govardhana, we have the lotus pond down the far end there. Some of you might have seen that when it's in bloom, and we decorate the altar sometimes with lotus flowers when they're in season. So this is also lotus flowers present on the feet of the Lord. So it's nice meditation when we see the lotus flower to understand the significance of the lotus flower, and it's also present on the foot of God, the Supreme Person. The conch, the shankha, this emblem indicates that those who take shelter of his lotus feet are always rescued from all sorts of distress. Just as during the arti ceremony, the conch shell is used to hold water that is offered directly after the ghee lamp, similarly his lotus feet hold transcendental water that soothes his devotees from the blazing fire of material miseries. In addition, this symbol proclaims ultimate victory for the devotees. Since the conch shell mark on the feet contains the entire ocean of material existence that may now be easily crossed. This mark is also symbolic of the principle of water. Since from Krishna's foot has manifested the river Ganga, purifier of all worlds, this mark also shows that those who resort to his feet become completely fearless. So it's like in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna blows his conch and it shatters all of the hearts of the Kurus, because this conch resembles victory. We know that Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita, is it? That verse, that wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, then there's opulence and victory. How does it go? There's opulence, victory, and morality. Yeah. So this is symbolised by the blowing of the conch. And like we blow the conch at the start of an arti, because that removes any inauspicious elements that may be around. By hearing the conch, it removes all the bhutas and unwanted entities that may be lingering around, or any envious entities. So the thunderbolt, the vajra or pavi. This mark reveals that meditation on his lotus feet smashes to pieces the mountain of his devotee's karmic reaction to past sins. It also indicates that whoever holds onto his feet becomes as exalted as Lord Indra, whose weapon is the lightning bolt. This mark also shows that the glories of Krishna's dynasties were established by his own grandson, Vajranabha, who preserved the many places of his pastimes, built temples, installed various deities, and initiated regular festivals and celebrations. So we know that there's a nectar of devotion. It talks about how the cycle of samsara, beginning with the desire for sinful activity, and then from those desires come the karmas, and then from those karmas come prarabdha and aparabdha karmas, manifest and unmanifest reactions. And then because we're doing material activity, we get kuta, a disposition for sinful activity, which results in more desires for sinful activity, and then more karmas, aparabdha karmas, and so forth. So that cycle goes on and on and on and on. So the beginning of that is actually ignorance or forgetfulness of our relationship with Krishna. So Krishna is the only person who can remove that ignorance and also free one from the cycle of repeated birth and death. None of the demigods are able to actually grant freedom or mukti from the cycle of repeated birth and death. So this is why it's considered that worshippers of demigods are less intelligent, because the demigods can provide material benefits and so forth, wealth and prestige and birth in higher planets, but it's only Krishna who can free one from the cycle of samsara, repeated birth and death, by removing that ignorance of misidentification with the self as the psychology and physiology, or the body and the mind, thinking that is the self. So this thunderbolt is able to remove all these karmic reactions, all these past prarabdhas, manifest and unmanifest sinful desires that are lying within the heart. And it's also talked about there, resembles Krishna's grandson Vrajanabha, who's very famous for building lots of temples within Vrindavan. I know that when they excavate Radhakund or drain Radhakund out and Shyamakund, Vrajanabha actually established the original bathing ghats there at Shyamakund and Radhakund, and you can see the original walls when they drain out the kunds, because they clean them out every few years. So you can actually see the original kund that was established there by Vrajanabha, and many other famous deities were established by Krishna's grandson Vrajanabha as well in Vrindavan. So the next one is the elephant goad, or the anukush. This mark indicates that meditation on his lotus feet brings the elephants of his devotees' minds under control and keeps them on the right path. It also shows that those who thus stay on the path towards his feet become superior among men, just as one riding on the top of an elephant travels far above the rest. So it's a good analogy that the mind is like an elephant. Elephants very, very strong, very, very powerful. And when, I don't know if you've ever seen footage of an elephant, when he's very angry, he can destroy everything in his path. It also explains that that's the mad elephant offences, when we make offences towards devotees as well. That the sure way to ruin our devotional life is being offensive or causing offences towards the devotees. So we can meditate on this symbol on Krishna's foot to remove this offensive mentality and to help bring our mind under control. The elephant goad. So the mind is like an elephant, a wild, out of control elephant. I'm sure we can all relate to the power of the mind, how it goes all over the universe and it's moving around. It's something like, thousands of thoughts come into the mind every day. Especially in Kali Yuga, it's usually unpleasant, unwanted thoughts. So Krishna can bring this unbridled mind under control through this elephant goad. Also good to meditate and think about avoiding offences towards devotees, because in Kali Yuga, Lord Caitanya is very merciful, so there's many concessions for all of our nonsenses that we have performed and have done. But Lord Caitanya is not forgiving when one offends his devotee, just like when Madai threw the broken water pot at Lord Nityananda's head and cut his head. And Lord Caitanya immediately was very, very angry when he was going to actually kill Madai for his great offence. So even though Jagai and Madai were the greatest offenders in so many ways, they were the rascals and lowest of mankind, the Radamas, were what Jagai and Madai were. Very, very sinful. They were murderers, thieves, rapists. They were very, very unpleasant people. But this was all tolerated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But when they crossed the line and offended devotees, that was it. So good to be conscious of that, to not make offences toward devotees. We should be appreciative and be very grateful towards the devotees, because it's only through the mercy of the Vaishnavas that we can make spiritual advancement. We can't go anywhere without Krishna consciousness unless we're getting the mercy of the Vaishnavas and the devotees. So we pray to Prabhupada as well that we take the dust of his lotus feet and take shelter of his lotus feet. So we take shelter of Srila Prabhupada in a mood of service and surrender. And same towards all the Vaishnavas. We're very humble and wanting the mercy and blessings of the devotees. This is how we make advancement in our Krishna consciousness. And following the instructions of the spiritual master as well. That's what it means to take shelter of the lotus feet, as we follow the Vani, the instructions that emanate from the mouth of the lotus mouth of the spiritual master. So the barley corn, or the dew, which is up the top there, this mark signifies that his devotees receive all enjoyable opulences of prosperity by serving his lotus feet. It also means that once one finds shelter at his lotus feet, and the devotee's former journey through many, many births and deaths is actually very tiny, just like a single grain of barley. It further demonstrates that just as the barley grains are sustenance of life for living beings, similarly, it is widely celebrated that his glorious feet are the nourishment of all souls. Yeah, so we can understand our precarious situation that we've been in this material world for many lifetimes in different forms and different species. So many of us are carrying karmas and these impressions in our mind from many lifetimes and many births. And Prabhupada explained that's why the Hare Krishna movement is like a hospital. So there's people lining up to go into the hospital. There are people in the hospital who are getting cured and taking the treatment. There are some who are in the hospital who are not following the doctor's instructions, so they're not getting any better. And there's those who are about to leave the hospital because they've become better from their disease. So that's why Prabhupada explained the material body is like a skin disease, right? That karma just means activities pertaining to the development of material bodies. So our whole material body is a prarabdha karma. Our body is a karmic reaction that we have from previous lifetimes, and whatever activities we're doing in this lifetime, or karmas we're performing, are setting ourselves up for another body in the next lifetime. So by performing devotional service, bhakti yoga, as we were explaining, it removes those karmas. It burns off all those karmas, manifest and unmanifest, and means that we won't take birth again in the material world once these desires have been fully burnt away from within the heart. So that's what this barley corn represents, that one finding shelter at his lotus feet. The journey through many births and deaths actually becomes very insignificant, like a tiny grain of barley. So there's many nice examples given in the Shastra about that by taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, param yadvibadamna tesham, that in the material world there's danger at every step. One who takes shelter of his lotus feet can easily cross over the cycle of birth and death, just as one can easily cross over the water in a calf's hoofprint. So by taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, then it's very easy to end our sojourn through this material world in the cycle of repeated birth and death. Birth, death, old age and disease. So the bow, the danu, the half bow, I think it is, it's an unstrung bow. Where is it on here? No, there it is there, on that side there, the danusha. This mark reveals that those who take shelter of his feet will perpetually be freed from all worries and difficulties. It also shows that those who are stupefied in the material world remain motionless like a target and do not come to his feet, whereas those who come to the ultimate goal of his feet remain there, never to go back to the material world. Furthermore, when the minds of the devotees meet the target of his feet, then praying condenses, or love for Krishna condenses as a result and overflows as it is, showering from their eyes. Yes, another one too, the elephant goad and the bow, the danu, a nice meditation to remove all fear and anxiety. Because in the material world, generally most of us are in anxiety or fear, and we have, from what I've observed, is most people, if they don't have something physically wrong with their body, then they have some difficulty or disturbance within the mind, some anxiety or fear. So those who meditate on the bow can free one from all mental anxieties and worries and difficulties. So Krishna is very, very merciful. So the flag, the Vajja. This mark announces that for the devotees meditating on his feet, he gives security and safe protection from all sorts of fear. So we have the umbrella, the chhatra. This mark proves that those who take shelter of his feet are shielded from the incessant rainfall of material miseries. It also refers to Krishna holding Govardhan hill up like an umbrella to protect Braj from the angry Indra. It also denotes that those who sit in the shade of his feet become exalted, just like kings, maharajas, who usually have umbrellas held over their heads. So the umbrella holds a lot of significance. Sometimes even when we take the deities, when we take them out for a parakram, we hold an umbrella over their head, because this is a mark to show that someone is regal or royal. It's an auspicious sign. It's like when we have Snan Yatra coming tomorrow, and then when Jagannath leaves to go up to either the cart or to his place of residence while he's recovering from a sickness, as part of the Lila, we hold an umbrella over his head. So this umbrella is also on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna as well. And it explains here that those who take shelter of his feet are shielded from the incessant rainfall of material miseries. So all disturbances to the body and the mind can be removed by taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. And we also have the fish, the Matsara Poshtikam, which is down the bottom here. This mark shows that just as a fish cannot survive without water, similarly the surrendered devotees cannot live without directly associating with his feet. It also shows that all the most cherished desires and longings of those who resort to his feet will be truly fulfilled. It also means that the mind is very fickle, just like fish who swim through the water this way and that. And so only after much meditation do his feet finally come to the heart. It also indicates that his feet will come to live in one's heart only if the heart has been liquefied by soft, loving emotions. His feet do not thrive where it is dry. He also has this mark on his feet to indicate that he has conquered Cupid, thereby displaying Cupid's flag of surrender on the soles of his feet. Moreover, it is a reminder that during the great universal devastation and flood, he assumed the form of Matsya, the fish incarnation, and thereby saved his devotees. That's a nice meditation. That the mind is very fickle, just like a fishy wavers this way and that. So only after much meditation do his feet finally come into the heart. It also indicates that his feet will come to live in one's heart only if the heart has been liquefied by soft, loving emotions. So this is the chanting of the holy name is supposed to soften the heart. Right? We're supposed to have soft hearts, so that eventually when we chant the holy names, tears are coming from our eyes. How can tears come from our eyes if we are hard-hearted? So that the chanting of the holy names is meant to soften the heart. And understand our experience through the material world, and it does harden the heart, doesn't it? We get let down by people. We have so many negative experiences in relationships with people, and these things harden the heart. So generally, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we're carrying this hardened condition with us. So this chanting of the holy name will soften the heart if we're chanting sincerely and with meditation upon the greatness of Krishna and his devotees. Then eventually the heart will become softened, and that's what we want. We want to feel these loving emotions, these spiritual emotions towards Krishna, these normal, natural emotions which are there within us. So this fish is symbolic of the softening of the heart. So when we chant the holy names, we can chant with some feeling and some emotion. I think Prabhupada said that to his, I was reading on a morning walk conversation with his disciples. He was asking, how do you know that the chanting is real? How do you know Krishna is real and his holy name is real? And devotees were answering with philosophical answers, saying, well, the name and Krishna are absolute, there's no difference between them. And then one devotee said, because we have a feeling, and Prabhupada said, yes, this is it. We have a feeling when we chant the holy names. So there should be some feeling arising within the heart when we hear about these pastimes, just so we know. When great devotees of Krishna hear the pastimes of Krishna, then they go into loving ecstasy, uncontrollable ecstasy. They experience by hearing these pastimes. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was it that Murari Gupta understood the heart of Lord Chaitanya. So to increase these great feelings of love that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had, in the mood of Radharani, he would speak verses to him, and then Lord Chaitanya would go into uncontrollable ecstasy by hearing these verses from the Shastra, glorifying Radha and Krishna and the devotees and those feelings and exchanges they have between them. So the holy name is the key to softening the heart so we can experience these deeper feelings and emotions. So we'll keep going on. So we have the half moon, Chandaram. This mark symbolises how his feet truly accomplish the desired objectives of the devotees. It signifies that even gods like Shiva have decorated their own heads with the soles of his feet. It also shows that devotees who likewise decorate their own heads with his feet can become exalted like Shiva. Just as the moon showers nectar with its cooling rays, similarly his feet shower nectar upon his devotees, extinguishing the threefold miseries. So that the minds of the devotees may reside at his feet, they bear the symbol of the moon. Just as the moon is one, yet destroys the darkness seen by many people simultaneously, similarly the Lord is one, yet by his cleverness can deliver many souls at the same time. The half moon also indicates that since his toenails appear as 10 splendourous full moons, the real moon has shriveled up in shame and appears in half form. It also indicates that the half-hearted attempts of those who are improperly devoted, relishing transient topics with the wrong attitude and crooked or duplicitous mind cannot approach his feet. In addition, just as the half moon is in the process of increasing, similarly the benefit for one who is day by day expanding the glorification of his feet in a spotless manner certainly increases. Okay, we'll keep going. So the water pots, the kalash, these kalash. This mark shows that his feet hold the golden pitcher full of purely nectarian ambrosia to be freely consumed by the surrendered souls. Indeed, they will never be bereft of nectar, for this pitcher always remains full. This mark also indicates that his feet can pour out nectar that extinguishes the burning fire of separation felt by the gopis, as well as blazing the threefold miseries of his separated devotees. It also refers to his feet as a source of the Ganga river, which is supremely purifying. Further, the full pitcher is a symbol to show that no inauspiciousness can come near his devotees, but rather that his feet bring ripples of happiness emanating from divine auspiciousness. So we can meditate on this nectar of Krishna's feet when we take the Caitanya as well, because the Caitanya is bathe the body. Here we bathe Giriraj with the Caitanya every morning. So this crosses over his body in the lotus feet of Lord Giriraj. So when we taking this Caitanya, we can meditate on this nectar. It's like we have a pot of Caitanya, so it's like a pot of nectar on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and we're drinking that nectar and relishing that nectar every day. So me and Padmalochan have a certain rus that after I bathe Giriraj, I make up a little cup of the leftover Caitanya, and both myself and Padmalochan drink that Caitanya with great relish. We've been relishing that pastime for a couple of years now. So we can meditate that Krishna also has this kalash pot of nectar on his feet. So we also have the goshpad. The next one is the hoof print on the lotus feet. So this mark signifies that those who have taken full shelter of uninterrupted meditation on his feet, the great ocean of material worldly existence becomes very small and insignificant, like the water held in a calf's hoof print, and thus is easily crossed over. As we're talking about a little bit earlier, that the material existence can be easily crossed over, just as one can easily step over water in a calf's hoof print. So the swastika, which is also here as well. I don't know if some of you might have seen a nice Facebook post that Korma Prabhu put on his Facebook about the origins of the swastika. This gave a very elaborate, in-depth insight into the swastika and the origins of the swastika. This mark signifies that for those who resort to his feet, all is well. It also indicates that nothing inauspicious could possibly remain for one who holds his feet to his heart. But yeah, if you want to read more details about the swastika and its significance and meaning, then Kormadas, if you're friends with him on Facebook, there's a nice explanation there of it. So we also have an octagon as well on lotus feet, or the Ashtakona, it is called in Sanskrit. Ashtakona. This one here, Konashtakam. This mark signifies that those who resort to his feet are well protected in the 8 directions. It also shows that nothing within the kingdom of the 8 directions is unattainable for the devotees. Further, his devotees automatically and easily achieve the use of the 8 mystic perfections in the course of performing service to his feet. So we know that's one of the side effects of performing pure devotional services, that all the 8 mystic perfections are manifest within the body of the devotee. Of course, the devotee isn't interested in these things, but these things there come as a byproduct of performing pure bhakti. And sometimes we can even see that Prabhupada would manifest these mystic perfections. There's a nice story when they were installing the Radha Krishna deities, I think, in London, and they're having some difficulties with a platform that the deities were supposed to be installed upon. And at one point, I think the stage collapsed, and Prabhupada held it up on his own. And the devotees are saying that it was superhuman because it was super heavy, holding up the weight of this platform, but Prabhupada was able to do that. So in the service of Krishna, then sometimes these mystic perfections may be manifest, but only to serve the Lord, not for one's own self-embellishment. Like sometimes we see that mystic yogis who have these mystic powers will do that to get some pratishta, profit, adoration or distinction. They can manifest ashes and gold and all sorts of things. Various cheating gurus will do that so they can bewilder the mind of their followers and get more and more followers. But a pure devotee won't use these mystic perfections for that purpose. I remember another pastime when Prabhupada was on a train, and he told the devotees to get a dob so they could drink from this dob, and the devotees were saying that it was like an endless amount of coconut water coming from this dob. They were all drinking to their full satisfaction and passing to the next one, and they were drinking and drinking. It was never ending. So one of the devotees was realising this was Prabhupada's mercy upon them. We'll wrap it up quickly because they're chanting the prashadam mantras. So the triangle, the trikona, you can see the triangle there. This mark indicates that the devotees who resort to his feet will be saved from the snares of the threefold modes of nature, Maya, and that his feet are the first and last refuge for the inhabitants of the 3 worlds. His feet are the safest sanctuary for the devas, humans and animals as well, and his feet are the sole desired object of the liberated, those desiring liberation as well as sense enjoyers, and that his feet should be resorted to by everyone with full concentration on his body. It also shows that Krishna, the conqueror of Cupid, is the Lord and husband of all women. It also shows that Krishna is the original source of his 3 expanded manifestations, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. Krishna also bears this mark on his foot to indicate that the 3 energies, Shri, Bhu and Nila, are his maidservants. It also refers to his stepping over the 3 worlds, Swaga, Bhumi and Patala, with 1 step in this form as Vamanadev. Also that his feet remove the 3 miseries, Adi-atmic, Adi-bhautic and Adi-davic. It further signifies that his feet may be attained by worshippers performing any of the 3 sadhanas, bhakti, jnana and vairagya. It denotes that he never goes anywhere other than Vrindavan, Mathura and Dwarka. In addition, that whether one is a Surya, godly, Nara, human or a Sura, demon, he sees everyone equally and bestows the same bhakti. Also that his feet have attracted the fixed gaze of the 3 eyes of Shiva. The next one is the curving line, the Urdhva Rekha. This mark signifies that the devotees who cling to his feet as if holding a lifeline will be transported to the higher realms. Indeed, they will not fall down. It shows that such devotees need never be doubtful of their upward passage. They cannot be held captive within the small-like material universe. It also indicates that the path to his feet, being freed from external designations, is very direct. It also reveals that his feet can reach down to the lowest of fallen souls and deliver those who have taken shelter of him. The last one, the Akash sky, Ambara Akashal Kam. This mark of 2 circles, which is up there, This mark of 2 circles, one within the other, indicates that his feet are all pervading throughout the entire universe, both within and without all manifestations. It also shows that even though his feet are everywhere, they are unattached, just like the sky. So I think we've gone through all of them now, all the 19 symbols on his lotus feet. So the fruit, the blackberry fruit, or the jambu. This mark is indicative that his feet are the only worshipful objects for those who are residents of this region, Jambudweep, island of the rose apple, according to Vedic cosmography. Yeah. It's the only worshipful feet of the residents of Jambudweep. And there's some nice prayers in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam of the residents of Jambudweep who are pure Vaishnavas. So anyway, we can stop. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything. I think they're serving up prasadam, so if anyone wants to go, please feel free. There is lots of nice quotes in Prabhupada's purports about Krishna's lotus feet as well. I've got some here, but we won't have time to go through them. So now, shall we stop? We can all meditate on these Krishna's lotus feet today and his markings on his lotus feet and take shelter of those lotus feet. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai. Krishna's lotus feet ki jai.